I'm going to move on to this portion here, which is the colouring pencils, okay, and the pens. So I've got my colouring pens here, and I've got my colouring pencils here. And now this is just a matter of simply layering colours, okay? So if I choose another pink area, which happens to be this shape here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with my colouring pencils, and I'm just going to add colour, okay? This shouldn't need too much explaining. Okay, and then I can go in with a red, and I can deepen the tone that I've just added to that. Okay, so again, I've started off with a light colouring pencil, but then I'm deepening the tone by going in with a darker colouring pencil. So this was the red and this was a pink. So the pink is obviously lighter than the red. If you've got colouring pens, okay, so this bit down here, this one is blue and purple. So what I'm going to do is with the purple, I'm going to just make marks on this object. Okay, so I'm just going straight in. So as you can see here, I've added my colouring pen on this section, but my blue felt tip ran out of colour, so I changed to another blue, and then I just went round the edges using a black pen. I think the felt tip and the colouring pencils are much more simple, and it's easy to know what to do with colouring pencils and pens, so that's the reason why I haven't gone into it in that much depth to how to make this using those two options. I think the more in-depth one that we needed was the paint rather than the felt tips. But just make sure that when you are using felt tips, you are being very careful, because sometimes there is a kind of, or even using colouring pencils, there is sometimes a tendency to kind of rush what you're doing. But if you make sure that if you're using colouring pencils, you're layering colours together, just like how you would do with paint. I mean, they might not blend as well together because obviously there's no water in order to blend it, but you can still make colours work together. So if you see what I'm doing here, what I'm doing is I'm going over that blue section with this green pen, and you can see that a nice gradient forms over here just by going over the colours like this. Okay, so if I do the same on this bit here, if I go in at the top with my blue pencil, going in with that, then I change to my green pencil, I start from the bottom, and maybe you want to put some more pressure at the bottom so you get a dark colour. But as you meet with the blue, overlap the colours with one another, okay? You don't have to stop just because it's a different colour. If you overlap them, then you get this gradient effect of two colours merging with one another, Okay, you don't always have to just stop because it is two different colours. All right, so you can do the same thing going all the way across, and just remember again, wherever it's around the edges, you're going in darker so we can see the separation. And to be fair, this one has the black lines on it as well. So you can see here again, I've got my blue, I'm going in with my green, and I'm overlapping into the blue. And you can see that gradient being formed. Okay, so don't be afraid, don't colour like this, don't add colour with the blue and then stop and add. So can you see the difference? So that's where the two colours haven't been, sorry, those are where the two colours haven't been merged together. But this is where the two colours have been merged together. You can go over it with the colours. And it just looks, the finish just looks much more neat and carefully thought about than this one. This one to me looks more messy than this one here. Okay, so just make sure that when you are adding colour using colouring pencils, you are merging those two colours together. With felt tip, obviously it's much more difficult because you can't merge felt tips together. There's no way that you can merge felt tips together. That's the more difficult thing. So you're just going to have to figure out, if you are using felt tips, first of all, is there any other stuff in your house that you can use, such as colouring pencils? But if felt tips is the last resort, then you just need to make sure that when you are working with felt tip, you are being very careful, like how I was down here. You are adding the colours in, if there's multiple colours in one section, you're seeing what is my darker colour, what is my lighter colour, and you're adding it in that way, okay? And be careful not to overlap the colours, okay? With felt tip, it's very important to keep those colours separated in case they start going muddy, okay? You can try merging the colours together, but if you do want to try merging colours together, I would recommend trying that on a separate scrap bit of paper first, and then going into your actual drawing and doing that on your actual drawing, because I don't want you to make a mistake by accident, thinking that they will merge together and they don't, okay? So that's the only thing that you need to be considerate about if you're using felt tips, okay? But it's the same principle if you're using colouring pen or colouring pencils. You have to make sure that you go over the edges with a black pen, okay? Because it just makes it stand out a little bit more, to be fair. Okay, so I'm going to finish this all off camera, and then I will have this uploaded onto Firefly. And with the colouring pencils, like I said, make sure you blend the colours together. And with the felt tip pens, just make sure that you're being really careful when you're using them, being very neat. I would say that felt tip pens, that would be like your last resort, but if that's the only media that you have, then use it, okay? But just be very careful when you're doing so. All right, I hope that's helped, and I can't wait to see what you produce.